Audrey, congratulations on a 27-year mandate as president of the Métis Nation of Alberta. You were first elected in 1996. Can you tell me your memories from your first mandate?
Sure. Elected in 1996. I had worked at the Métis Nation 5 years prior to that in the department of the finance department as director of finance, and would have been happy to stay there. But as a proud member of the Métis Nation, saw there was things that we weren't doing, that we could be doing, that we should be doing, and determined that it was not the best place to work at the time, and I either need to leave or I need to do something about it. And certainly citizens that I interacted with within my job said, well, don't leave now, you're helping us, you're working with us. And that's how it came to be. So needless to say, I said, okay, well, you gotta go to the top if you're gonna make changes. And so that's what happened. I decided I would, with encouragement from my family and other citizens, I would run for president. And lo and behold, I got elected, which was a bit of a surprise to me because there had never been a woman president before, probably not a finance person before, so it was different. But it was also gave me the opportunity to move in and start, as far as I was concerned, making some changes that we needed to make. And of course there was people on staff that I had worked with for those 5 years, so it wasn't that I was alone. There was people that came back on council, and we just proceeded to move forward. It was a struggle because we were challenged with a lot of things, not having enough resources, having too many people on staff that we had to deal with, which was not an easy thing to do. But we got through it. We got through it, and I believe for the better. And so for me, that first win was clearly about people wanted a change. People saw there needed to be a change. And what more of a change than a woman, a finance person? Whereas for my second election campaign, I felt as I went out there, people were now giving me the go-ahead to say, yes, we're on the right track, let's keep going. That's what I saw. And so that was very encouraging for that second time, which meant a lot more to me, I think, and to a lot of people, that we were on the right track and we were moving forward.
I'm just going to raise this light up just a hair. What challenges did you face back then?
Challenges that I faced, I believe one of the biggest challenges was people still believing it was a man's world. It was totally a man's world. And of course, as the president of the Métis Nation, I also sat at the national table with a bunch of men who made it very clear to me every time we went to a meeting that I probably didn't really belong there. But stubborn as I am, that was where I was supposed to be, and so that was a huge challenge. I think was the other thing was, right at the very beginning, we needed to build or rebuild the credibility of the Métis Nation. We had to work hard to have, as an example, our banking institutes to believe in us again, our government departments that we had agreements with, some of them that we had lost, to start believing in us again, that we were really prepared now to do what the Métis Nation needed done for the people. So those were some real challenges along the way.
Compared to now, how has it changed for women in positions of power? Is it better now?
Actually, for women, it has really changed in the Métis Nation and elsewhere. Not only in the Métis Nation, but when I was first elected, I used to say I would go to any types of meeting and all there was black suits and me. Whereas the second year going, there was 2 other women elected within our council. We were actually up to at points where we had more women in our council than men, and that is still continued today. women are coming out and really being part of the solution of doing what's right for our nation, a lot of women. And in saying that, I'm not saying it should all be women. I believe we need a balance. I believe there's men that have done amazing jobs as well, and it needs to have that balance. But I do believe it has changed, and I've had women approach me and say, thanks for opening that door. You know, it probably wasn't easy, but thanks for opening that door, because I felt that now I could do it, which is great to know. You know, if that's what it takes is one person to make a difference for some women, I'm very appreciative of that.
Change my camera shot a little bit. How has the M&A changed during your presidency?
Well, I think the M&A has changed a lot during my 27 years. From the very beginning, when we were renting an office, and at the will of landlords to increase our rent whenever they felt like doing it. And that was one of the things, not even a year after I was first elected, we had an increase that was more than double. And we had an economic development officer working for us, and we said, you need to go find us a place that we can purchase. So it's our building. We can manage it. We can look after it ourselves. And which we did. And thank goodness at that time we had found a Métis entrepreneur who had probably more than he needed or could afford. And we were able to take over his mortgage. We didn't have any money to put down, but we were able to take over his mortgage, get one of his buildings, and that's this building we're in today, which allowed us to start developing for ourselves. Once we had the mortgage paid off, redesigning it so it met the needs of our office, and continued to build around that, which we're still doing today. So you know, there was definitely things that changed. Rupert's Land Institute we created during that time. What we did have was a labor market development unit where we were looking at designing programs to train our people. And we were able to get a significant agreement with the Government of Canada for training. And what we did do is say, okay, let's put our plan together of how do we meet the needs of as many of those people out there that need to be trained, that want to be trained, whether they're students, whether they're adults who want to be retrained. And that's what happened. And I mean, today, Rupert's Land Institute has 10 employment offices across the province, has a main office where they do a lot of online training now. We also have 2 mobile units that go out to those smaller communities where it wasn't effective to have an office, but they go out and spend a week with clients in that area who design what their career path is going to be, so that they can now plan to where they're going to go. So there's things like that that have definitely changed, and I say that all came out of all our lives we heard about education is what will make the difference for our people. I remember hearing that as a young person, and some of our council members that very first term we were elected said that. We need to do something about education. We hear it every year at our assembly. And so to me, we have this Rupert's Land Institute, that's our education, training, and research arm, and it's made a huge difference to where we're training 800 to 1,000 people every year, in addition to sometimes projects of 10 or 20 people for something specific. We also have the research arm that is a partnership with the University of Alberta that allows us to actually do research, our own research on Métis people. So, and from our education side, of course, we have the Métis Education Foundation, which is a foundation that has negotiated endowments, scholarship funds with every one of the major post-secondary institutes in Alberta. So our students can go where they want to. It's not like you can only go to one place. So those are the changes around the education, training, and research arm that we've done. In housing, we did have a major housing corporation prior to me being elected. But one of the things that the previous president made sure that there was an agreement that when those houses that we were managing became debt-free, they would become the property of the Métis Nation of Alberta. So when that started happening, we created a second company called Métis Capital Housing, where we could move our housing over to that corporation and use the value of the assets to do other buildings, such as our Renaissance Tower that we have downtown. That's a 90-unit building that has 60 units for seniors and 30 units for disabled people, which is amazing that we actually are able to do those kinds of things. Yeah. So those are some of the successes for sure. And
Just
of course,
some.
yeah.
This leads right into this. What has been in your opinion, your biggest success?
Well, I think what I'm mostly proud of, whether it's the biggest success or not, but it's certainly the most I'm proud of, is Métis Crossing. Because once again, as young people, as we grew older, as we went to assemblies, as we went to enjoy cultural activities, there was always that question: why don't we have our own place? Why don't we tell our own stories? Why can't we have this other, there's an Italian center, there's a Ukrainian center, all of those things, why don't we? And so prior to me being elected, I did have the opportunity to attend with our president of the day out to the place where Métis Crossing is today, because the couple that was there were looking at selling it, and they indicated that they would have to sell it, and they believed it belonged to the Métis, just with the history out there. So it was probably not a year after I first got elected that the wife and the son came back and said, we no longer have a choice. Her husband had passed away with a massive heart attack, and we need to get rid of it now. We don't have a choice any longer, and we know it should go to you. We're not in a position to give it away, but we would like to offer it to you. So we negotiated 6 months. We would try. We weren't able to do that, but what we were able to do was to, by that time, have our bank stabilized, that our bank agreed to purchase the property and hold it for us till we could figure out how we were going to do that. And based on that, we met with all kinds of people and all kinds of financial institutes, but we knew we couldn't afford a huge mortgage. We did find 3 Métis entrepreneurs, Herb Belcourt, Orville Belcourt, and George Brasso, who were right at that time creating the Belcourt-Brasso Awards, where they were selling off their businesses and putting it into a fund for educational purposes. And they said, if you can prove to us how this is educational for people, we will purchase the land for you. And so they did purchase the land for us, with the caveat that it could never be sold. It would be for a cultural place, which that was fine with us. And from that point on, we just worked really hard with partners we had already worked with and additional partners to develop. And so today, I don't think I believed we would develop as fast as we did, but it was amazing, the partners that came forward and said, we think we could do this, or we think we could do this. And so today, of course, we have a beautiful gathering center. We have a 40-room lodge. We have a wildlife park. We have a large solar project that's being developed out there, soon to be open. And we have an outside stage. We are now having weddings, reunions, all of those kinds of things happening there, and our people are coming every weekend of the summer to come and camp. Our youth are out there in the winter for youth camps. So to me, I am so proud of that site that our people have longed for a long, long time.
And bison.
And bison, that's right. We have bison that are come back after hundreds of years. I believe we say that the last time the bison roamed on that land was 1860. And today we have white bison, we have the woodland, and we have the plain bison. We also have white elk and the dark elk, and we have horses, perch-on horses. So we are. It's a beautiful place to visit, and it's starting to become really popular.
What have been your biggest disappointments?
I guess my biggest disappointment is, well, I should say there definitely has been disappointments along the way. You know, I mean, I think our ancestors, our forefathers, our past leaders all worked really, really hard for the recognition of who we were as one of the Indigenous people of this country. And that was something that took so long. We'd make a step forward and 10 steps back. And so that has been a disappointment all along, because even during my time, we'd move forward, we'd move backwards. I look and I say, for me, when I first started, I thought, okay, way back in 1982, the Constitution of Canada was amended to include the Métis. That should mean there's recognition, we're accepted. But it didn't really mean that. There was lots to be desired, and so we continued moving forward. And over the years, I would say until the last really 5 or 6 years of my term, is only when we finally felt we are moving forward. We're finally meeting the dreams of those people from so long ago, those ancestors, those forefathers, those leaders that have worked with nothing. And we are finally getting to a point where we can start actually being recognized, seeing people actually believing that we are an Indigenous people in this country. So the disappointment has been there for many, many years. And I hope it's gone now. I hope that as we move through where we are today with our self-government agreements we signed, with our legislation that has been tabled, we're still waiting for it to be passing final reading, but hopefully that will happen soon, and we will have a treaty signed with Canada that will allow us to be fully recognized within the Constitution of Canada, like we thought was happening in 1982. And so that really has been one of the biggest disappointments. Other than that, you know, sometimes one of those disappointments was in ourselves, not being able to be together enough to move forward collectively. And there's many reasons for that, I believe. You know, people who have suffered for so long, who have dealt with residential schools, who have dealt with it's not an easy process to get past. And so it creates those continual feelings of having to fight for what you, even amongst yourself sometime. So, but I believe, and I hope, we're past that, and now we're moving forward, so our next generations will not have to do that. We'll really see the benefits of being those proud Métis people that we are.
In 2020, 7 Métis communities left the MNA to form the Alberta Métis Foundation. Can you give me your thoughts on what transpired there?
Yes, that's true. 7 Métis communities sent out notices to say they were leaving the Métis Nation. Definitely triggered from one of those presidents who was very, very vocal, that ran in the election, got defeated, made those decisions, and communities followed him. And I probably shouldn't even say communities, leaders followed him, because today there is very few of those people that have resigned from the Métis Nation, brought back. A few of them have returned their cards, but not all the community, that's for sure. The communities are still active, are still accessing our services, maybe not through the local as it was at that time, but as individuals that we still continue to support. They're MNA citizens, they deserve support, and we continue to support them. But it was very much the political move and not wanting to be accountable to the Métis Nation of Alberta.
You have endorsed Andrea Samm as the next president. Why did you pick her?
I've endorsed Andrea Samm for president. I certainly have. And, for many years, I've thought it was time. 27 years is a long time to be president, with our ups and our downs and all of that. And so I have been watching. I have been watching for leaders that sit at our table, other leaders that are out in the community that maybe would move forward. And it's only recently, over the last 5 years, that I've seen this leader that's come to the table, that has worked hard, that is always asking for more work to do. She's the vice president of Region 2, currently, still today until Election Day, and saw that there was reasons why she was not able to do everything she wanted to do in her region. And so she would reach out and say, what else can I help with? She became very involved with our health department when we needed someone to help support from a political level. We created a Métis Children's Advisory Committee to move forward on our Children's Authority, the design of our Children's Authority, so we will look after our children. And I asked her to sit on there to support them because she had some experience in that area. And she's done an amazing job. I believe she's one who is always reaching out for more, has a very good understanding of a lot of things, has sat on major boards. She has a great background with financial background, as well as sitting on some of those boards that are so important, that deal with mental health, that deal with addictions, that deal with all of those that are very, very important to our community. And she has a very, very stable family. She has a husband that is very supportive of her. She has 3 grown children, boys that all have careers, and very supportive of what does their mom want to do. And I believe that is so important. For me, I knew in order to do my job, certainly at the beginning of my career, but all the way through my career, I needed to have a family that was supportive, that knew I may not be there for every holiday that we should be celebrating together. I may have to go when you think I should be home, or I may not be able to sweep the floor when I should. And you know what? You need to pick it up and do it. And it was very easy for me to be able to say, I gotta go. And I think that's what we need, especially when we're continuing to build. We still have a lot of building to do. And we need a person that's committed, that's heart is in the Métis Nation, and has the support she needs to do that, and the skills. So that's why I've supported her, for sure. I believe that she can do the job. I believe she will do the job if she's successful in getting elected. And that's why I have truly put my name behind her and said, we need someone who's going to continue going forward.
What advice would you give the new president?
Advice for the new president, I think, would be true to yourself. As that proud Métis person you are, know that you're not here for yourself. You're here for the people. You're here for the nation. And sometimes it's very hard to say, I'm not going to be there for my family. But it's what needs to be done. If you truly are a leader, it has to be about the people. It has to be about continuing to build that nation that's going to benefit in many, many different areas. And over my time, we truly focused on the rights agenda because that's what our people fought for so long. Now it's time to do all those other things as well. Just like any other communities, we have communities that are suffering, individuals that are suffering from mental health, from diseases, from all of those kinds of things. And we need to be able to start putting those programs together for them. That will help them. And with our agreements now that we've signed with Canada, we can design and deliver those programs. We don't have to try to fit into what's right for somebody else. And so I think it's going to be a huge opportunity for the new president to start moving a lot of those things forward.
What do you want people to look back at your tenure as president and remember?
I guess all I really want people to remember is that I worked hard. I believed in the Métis Nation. I did the best I could. I fought as hard as I could for things that I believed that we've always believed in as Métis people, as the Métis Nation. That's all I really want people to believe, is that as a leader that took on a role, I did everything I could possibly do, along with an amazing group of people, to accomplish what we've done up to today.
Just one last question. What are your future plans?
Well, my future plans are, first, I'm going to have a little bit of rest. I am going to slow down a little bit and rest. I have a beautiful home out on Cold Lake. I'm going to spend some time there. I have family out there. I have a granddaughter who loves to travel. She's actually already booked us a trip. So next month we are going on a trip. And I have a commitment I made that I would write a book. I haven't started because I don't even know how to start, but I'm going to figure it out. And lots of people have offered help to do that. So that's what I plan on doing, is probably not just write immediately, but spend some time sitting on my deck by the water and writing.
Thank you so much for your time, and all the best in the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you.